So, quick recap of the previous video. We've made an app which allows us to show attachments count in Jira issues. This custom field is implemented by Jira custom field module and has a simple implementation which gets the fields of the current issue and calculates total size of all the attachments, total count of all the attachments. In this video, we will add one more field which will calculate the total size of all the attachments of the issue, for example in megabytes. Because I've mentioned in the previous one that this project is a template with which you can build your own custom fields, calculated custom fields for whatever you need to get parent values, to calculate count of some elements like components or labels, or to calculate size of overall attachments, like we will do in this video. The plan. First of all, we will do a refactoring to make our code more structured and more clean. We will move everything out from index.ts, and this will be just an entry point for our Forge functions without implementation itself. Then we will extract some parts which we will repeat again and again between different custom fields and their computation functions. And then we will add one more field, which will be attachment size, and we will implement the computation function for this field. So let's start. First of all, let's add the structure to our project. Of course, it's not good when all the code are stored in one file and it's index.ts. It's difficult to maintain, it's difficult to extend, because now we need to add one more field, and if we will do it here, it will keep on growing, repeat itself, and without structure, our project cannot grow, continuously growing. What we will do? We will add a few folders where we store some parts of our application. It could be different structure. I'm just going to try to do something like this. We will add the model folder. In the model, we will store all the types, all the consts, all the data model representatives. Also, we will add API. Here we will store everything that makes a call to our application, like this one. And we will add a folder for every functions, for all the computation functions for our custom fields. Let's just call it custom fields. So this will be our structure. Index.ts will be entry point, and all the code will be separated into these three folders. First of all, let's just push all these types to a model where we'll create types.ts. This is something that we will use for store all our shared types across all the functions. And I think short issue, payload for computation, Jira issue, it's something that will be the same for every custom field function. What we need to do, we need to make them exportable. So we will import them later in our function. Yeah, let's do not do such kind of mistakes. We can even try to move it automatically through refactoring feature. Let's have a look. Will it work? No, unfortunately. I think it's because we have some connections between types. So like this payload is using short issue interface, and that's why they're not going to work as we expected. But it's not an issue. VS Code allows us to re-import everything pretty quick. So our function is again ready to go, and all the types already stored inside types of the model folder. Then it would be nice to extract the call for Jira issue into a separate function. So somewhere in API, let's create a file get Jira issue with the same function. We will think about parameters of this function later, but for now it will look something like this. What is missed? Of course, imports like API, road. Let's just copy paste it. And here a few things which we have to add. Mark our function as async because we will have a wait part. Let's import this missed type of Jira issue. And what we need to put as input parameter is just issue key or maybe ID. Both will work fine. And it will be a string. And this input parameter we will pass to the function to get the content of Jira issue. The function looks not good because it doesn't have any validation. It doesn't have a check for status. Is it the issue? Maybe it's we haven't found an issue, but we can add this validation and exceptions later. For now, it's fine. It's absolutely the same as it was previously. And we can now replace everything starting from here and put this value as input parameter. We don't need this call anymore. Of course, we need to make an import of this function and remove all the redundant imports. What does it say? Issue ID is a number, and we require value as a string. It's not a problem. You can just map it to a string. It's pretty safe operation. And now we can see that we will have our compute function very clean. So it's just make a call for issues through get Jira issue function, and then return us number of attachments, count of attachments, which is good. But we would like to move this function somewhere outside of index.ts, somewhere in custom fields subfolder. And we need to name this function first. Let's just use this name and rename our function to create attachments, compute attachments count. I think it's a good name for the function. Now we can take it and move to a new file. Let's create the file for this function. Yeah, and copy everything into it. Some imports are not imported properly, but again, it's not our issue. Visual Studio Code could fix it pretty quick. And what we need to do now, export this function from the file itself. So we will export it. We don't need all this part. We don't need all imports from custom fields, from this compute attachments count. So this is perfect index.ts. It doesn't have any implementations. It's just an entry point for our Forge backend functions. So all the backend functions will ask index.ts for exact function name. And now we need to change our function name here. So it should be something like this. So Jira custom field, which calculates count of attachments, will use compute attachments count function. And this is where it's declared. So this where we have the place where we define this entry point. It's inside index with the name compute attachments count. Looks not bad. Let's try to check everything. First of all, yarn deploy to check our manifest file. Is everything is fine? Could it be exported? Not actually. Let's try to define why. It says that something created but never used. Maybe I just forgot to save the file. Let's check one more time. I've saved file, so now it should look much better. Yeah, so our manifest, our index.ts and all its dependencies, all these imports, looks good. So the project packaged successfully, and now it's deployed to a Forge. For development loop, actually we don't need to deploy it every time, and we can just use, no, it's too much. We can just use yarn.dev. it will start our application in tunnel mode, and we can focus on development with hot reload without needs to deploy and reinstall it every time. Let's have a look. Looks like it calculates properly. And we have some log files here. Ooh, huge log files. It means that our computation function in this log file, console log, works properly. When we accessed our page with a ticket, these computation functions called, and we've got an issue, and we printed out all its content. And you can see there are all the fields, including attachment somewhere here, a lot of attachment. Yeah, this is attachment field. It's an array of attachments, and we haven't added any new functionality yet. It's all the same functions which previously, only one custom field, but now the project is structured much better. We can now put all the additional types in the model. We can implement new custom fields computation functions here. We can implement additional APIs which we need also here in the API folder, and the project could grow and we can add more and more custom fields when we need it. All right, let's add one more custom field, our attachment size field, which we wanted to implement. We don't need the definition of the module name anymore. We can add one more just here. This one will be not attachment count, but attachments size. Attachment size. This will be a display name in Jira custom fields. Show attachment size. By default, all the attachments are stored and marked. The size of attachment stored in bytes. It's not something that very human readable. I think we need to convert it to megabytes, but let's see, it's just assumption. And the function of which we'll calculate it, we need to define it also. One more function, compute attachment size. So we will implement this function soon. Okay. So in the definition of modules, we will have two modules, attachments count and attachment size. The second one we need to implement, it will call compute attachment size function from index.ts. We need to, don't forget to add this function there. But for now, let's just copy this one because it will be almost the same. And we can implement only the difference between these functions. And we need to add the entry point definition also here. I think it's much better now. So we will have two fields, two different compute functions, and this one will call this compute attachment size. If now we will add this field, it will be not much useful because it will do the same. You see the code is the same, but it's fine. We would like to find out that everything is fine and field is added, and then we will be able to continue implementing this function. But because we've tried to modify our manifest.yaml, we have to make the redeploy again. So we need to run yarn deploy one more time. And every time when you modify your manifest.yaml, you have to redeploy the app. What does it say? Module doesn't have blah 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 something. Let's check why. Yeah, I've again forgot to save the file, and the changes were unsaved. So as I said, every time when we modify our manifest, we have to make a redeploy that Forge will register the changes inside our manifest and register new modules. When it's registered, it becomes available inside Jira. So Jira will see this extension point that our app introduced a new custom field to the platform. So when it's deployed, we can just run development mode again. Our attachment size field. Yeah, right, it's appeared exactly where we expected. So let's have a look where we added our previous field, actually to all the screens. Let's do the same. Let's shade it with all the fields on our instance. It's a small test instance, so there are not many screens yet. And then if we will update our issue, we should see two fields, attachments count and attachment size, with the same value. Of course. And drag and drop the fields here. So we'll have both of them, attachments count and attachment size. So it's saved. Let's go back to issue. Let's open the ticket. And finally, we have attachments count and attachment size. Of course, it doesn't show us real attachment size in megabytes for all the attachments in this issue because we haven't implemented the function for this yet. Let's do it. So it works as expected now, but this function. Let's run our app in development mode, in tunnel, in Forge tunnel, to be able to debug all these console log messages and track what's going on here. We can now remove this console log message from attachments count. We don't need it anymore. It works amazing. It could go to production right now. And for here, for attachment size, we need somehow to find out how to calculate the size of all attachments. For this, we need to know the type of the attachment. We already typed it properly. So we have Jira issue type, we have fields, and we expect that we have something which called attachment, but we marked it as unknown because previously we don't care about the exact type. For us were important to know the size of elements, the size of attachment. But now it's become important to know what exactly inside the attachment fields and how to find out the size of all the attachments. Let's recalculate the field. Let's check what we have inside attachment field. So let's find the attachment. Oh, so many fields. Yeah, here's the attachment. Which fields we have? ID, file name, everything is important. I think all these fields could be important for us. So let's add interface to type Jira issue attachment properly. After that, we will be able to access all these fields without any problems and with proper type checks. So it's something that could have, not could, must have the file name. Let's take also ID. It's also very useful. Author, not sure, maybe. Creation date. As always, we can add the later all the fields which we need, but I think here what we wanted to find, size, which is number, and it's number of bytes, the size of the attachment in bytes, which is great and exactly what we need. We will be able to then calculate how many megabytes we have across all the attachments in particular issue. So this is our Jira issue attachment type, and we can now say that all the attachments in our Jira issue response will be of this type. Perfect. With this knowledge, we can now rebuild our function and calculate total size of all the attachments in one issue. So let's define some variable like total size. And what we need to do, we need to go through all the attachments, if there are some, and calculate the total size of all the attachments. So I think we will use just a reducer. Previous value and all values, vice versa. Current all, we will do the function which will calculate everything, and by default size will be 0. So every time when we go to attachment, it will be our current attachment of Jira issue attachment type, and all will be just a size. So what we will do, we will return all sizes plus current attachment size. Something like this. Doesn't like it. Maybe we need to add a few more types. What's wrong? So it's callback functions with the previous value. Previous value. So now it should be like this. This is the right order. So first parameter is the previous value, so our all sizes, and current attachment, which will be iterate over. And this total size we will put here or 0. So now we will go through all the attachments, extract sizes, count some of them, and show the total size of all attachments in issue. Let's just clean up console, go there and refresh our page. Now it should show us total size in bytes. It's not exactly what we need, but yeah, you see it's a number of bytes of particular of all attachments from particular issue. This one, it's not quite usable, it's not human readable, so we need to beautify it. Let's just do some check. Bytes. Yeah, sorry for this. I don't remember what exact number. Yeah. Please don't judge me. Yeah, I don't remember this exact number. It's not a crime, I hope, yet. So what we're going to do, we are going to divide this total size in bytes, which currently in bytes, to a size in megabytes, and return this value, actually. So let's do it. We need a function which just do this mapping, bytes to megabytes. Expect bytes as number, and will return us the number of megabytes. So the function will do something pretty simple. Return bytes divide to number of bytes in 1 megabyte. Let's create one more variable. It will be, oops, too much. It will be number of megabytes, total size in megabytes. And we calculate it only if we have any. So if we have total size in bytes, we will return total size in megabytes or 0. And this value we will print out as a final result. Yeah, now because we've added this check here and this condition here, so we don't need any check for undefined for null anymore, because this will do it for us. Let's go to our ticket and let's refresh the page. Now we should be able to see number of megabytes. And this is just 0, so it's less than 1 megabyte. Let's have a look at this same issue in issue navigator to check the amount of total amount of the size. So let's open a new tab and here reset all the filters and add our new field which we've just added, our attachment size. Let's have a look to it. Yeah, you see in issue navigator, so it shows original value, but when we look at the issue inside issue view, it's round the value to 0 only. I think we can improve it by adding a custom render function, but we can add it later. So for now, we could be sure that it works fine. It counts number of megabytes, but here it's rounded. As a workaround, we can add some bigger image here. Let's add this one and recalculate the field again. Now it's 1 megabyte already, and inside issue navigator it will show us 1.12. So the number of megabytes again calculated very precise with 2 digits after dot. So now we can see also that attachments count updated properly to attachments, total size of 1.12 megabytes. Let's go back to the code. What we have, this function now calculates us a number of total size of all the attachments and return it in megabytes. It's not much precise, but as I said, we can always improve it later and add different options to render the field and show the field. But for now, I think it's fine. So we've implemented our field how we wanted to do it. We've restructured our project. We've made significant changes to make it clean, transparent, and add some logic to the structure of our project. We are not repeating ourselves and the functions, reusing the API to access Jira through get Jira issue function, which is not super good. It doesn't have any validation. We have to add it also, and you have always expect that issue could be not existed or whatever other problem could appear, and you need to catch the error and react on it somehow. But for this example, it's fine just to mention it without much details. And everything will be finally connected to Forge through our index.ts file, and manifest will call these functions every time when one of the fields will be calculated. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy coding and see you next time. Bye bye.